day one Atal FDP on research avenues and challenges in industry 4.0. And it's my pleasure to introduce our today's chief guest, Dr. C. Komati Ma'am, Associate Professor at Sri Sai Ram Engineering College, Chennai. Ma'am completed undergraduate in the field of instrumentation and control engineering from University of Madras in the year 2002 with the university fifth rank, and specialized in the embedded system technologies from College of Engineering, India, Anna University in the year 2008, and she is a gold medalist. And ma'am completed PhD from the Faculty of Electrical Engineering, Anna University, and her PhD work included application of soft computing techniques for effective power supply design and realizing it with the help of embedded Texas C2000 microcontroller, and interested in the field of embedded system, soft computing techniques, and data science. And she is having more than a and during his and also I would like to highlight his achievements. Her achievements, like she received funding approval of rupees 30 lakhs for the project titled design and development of energy efficient PFC circuit for onboard e-vehicle charger using interleaved DC to DC SEBIC converter by DST SERB Power Grant Scheme. And she published papers in high quality SEA indexed journals like IEEE Transactions on Power Electronics, Neural Computing and Applications, and various Scopus and UGC indexed journals and conferences. And she received award from IEEE Madras section in the recent IEEE Day for the publication of paper in high impact journal with the value of 7.721. And she's currently the reviewer of many SCI indexed journals like IET journals, IET circuits, devices and systems, IET power electronics, IET control theory, and applications. And we once again welcome you, ma'am, for this 5 days Atal FDP program. And we are invited you to provide the topic on statistical data analysis using R programming. Thank you, ma'am. Welcome. Participants, please kindly mute your audio settings so that it will be useful for all the participants. Please, ma'am. Please, participants.
Thank you all. Very good morning to one and all. And I am profoundly delighted to be a part of this Atal FDP on the most trending topic, challenges and research avenues in point. Thank Padmavati ma'am, HOD sir, Chalamusilvan sir for giving me this wonderful opportunity. So today I would like to deliver my lecture on statistical analysis of industrial data networks. So using with sharing the screen. Very good morning.
Fourth fellow will be called upon. Your keywords of your speech has to be.
So is my PPT screen visible?
It's visible, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So today's topic is statistical analysis using R programming. So myself, as introduced by Batma ma'am, I am Dr. C. Komati, working as an associate professor in the Department of Electronics Instrumentation Engineering of Sri Sai Ram Engineering College. So actually, my field of work is power electronics embedded system, but I have passion towards data science and have started learning data science. So I would like to share my experience, which I have learned in R programming, and how specifically R programming can be used for statistical analysis. So this is what would be the today's. So let me first see what is statistics. So as we all know, statistics is a basic science which deals with collecting, classifying, presenting, comparing, and interpreting numerical data. So we know now everywhere data is playing a major role, and with such raw data we will not be able to do anything. Okay, so that data has to be presented in a form, okay, which is meaningful. So that is the role the statistics is playing a major importance. So the major functions of statistics are it is going to present the facts in definite form. So suppose we are collecting some thousands or millions of data, so just with the data table we will not be able to come to any conclusion or meaning, right? So that is where here the statistics presents the facts in a definite form. So it simplifies the mass of figures. So as I told you, we have 1 lakh data or 1 million data which are collected. But with those huge data and complex data, we will not be able to come to any conclusion. So this statistics is used for simplifying the mass of figure. We are going to come to a final conclusion with this with the help of the statistics. So we will be able to have the comparison of data, and the main role of statistics is in formulating and testing of hypothesis. So hypothesis is nothing but we are going to make some assumption, and we are going to check whether it is going to be true or not. So that is what where the hypothesis plays a major role. And using these hypothesis testing and statistics, we'll be able to do a lot of prediction. So that is what is the major role of predictive analysis. So where your statistics play a major role. And finally, it helps in the formation of various policies. So with the collection of data and interpretation, we will be able to come to some conclusion and form some new policies. So these are the major functions of statistics. So basically, this statistical analysis can be classified into two main branches. So we have descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. So descriptive statistics, as the name indicates, it is just used to summarize the collection of data, or it is just used for describing certain parameters. For example, the most commonly used descriptive statistical parameters we all know are mean, median, mode, range. So these are all some descriptive statistical measures which we use for collecting the descriptive statistical analysis. Okay, so using this we will be able to come to a conclusion of data in a clear and understandable way. Whereas there is one more kind of statistical analysis which is more commonly used, that is inferential statistics. So as the name indicates, again it is used to draw inferences or conclusion. So we are going to collect a population or a sample of data from which what is the conclusion we want to make. Okay, why we are collecting the data, to come to or to know about certain thing, right? So to come to the conclusion, we use this inferential statistics. So normally after we collect the data, we will tabulate it. Okay, and using appropriate descriptive statistics, we can describe the characteristics of the data. That is the first step. And after that, we do the statistical analysis to test the hypothesis. So what are all the, we will see with examples or all these things to understand it in a more better way. So statistical analysis, then we use it for testing the hypothesis, which is nothing but the inferential statistics. So we classify statistical methods, as I told you, it's broadly classified into descriptive and inferential. So again, we have the subclassification. In descriptive, we have univariate, which deals with a single variable. If we deal with two variables, we call it as a bivariate analysis. And if we are going to deal with multiple variables, then we're going to call it as multivariate analysis. So the as I told you, the most commonly used descriptive statistical parameters are spread, center of dispersion, relative position, mean, median. These are all. And in bivariate, we compare two things and find the correlation between them. So for that, we use correlation analysis, regression analysis. And the same thing, if I'm going to do with multiple variables, then we are going to call it as multiple regression. These are all some important techniques which we use under descriptive statistics. So then comes the inferential statistics, and this we classify it into two main types. One is parametric and non-parametric. So whenever everyone would have been studied in maths about this normal distribution, we will be seeing the bell-shaped curve. Okay, that means if the data is distributed with respect to a central point, if it is uniformly distributed with respect to a central tendency, then we say that the population is normally distributed. So in the earlier standards of school, we have studied about this normal distribution. So the basic classification of this parametric and non-parametric lies with this distribution. So if the distribution of data is normal, then we can go for parametric test. Some commonly used parametric test or t-test, which is popularly known as student t-test, and we have ANOVA, analysis of variance, then we have f-test, etc. And if the population, we cannot say that always the data collected is going to be normally distributed. Most of the cases it will be NP, we have to use NP analysis, non-parametric, because the data may not be normally distributed. So in such cases, for those data, we have to go for using uh, non-parametric tests. So some of the non-parametric tests we use are Wilcoxon test, Mann-Whiteley test, Kruskal test, etc. So this lecture, so why we are talking with statistical analysis for this particular FTP, that is for research and challenges in Industry 4.0. So we know in Industry 4.0 we are dealing with so many technologies like Internet of Things, robotics, digital twins, additive manufacturing, augmented reality. Okay, so many innovative services we are trying to bring in inside, and in all those cases, what we are doing is collection of data, right? So we are just collecting data from the sensors, putting it over the cloud. Okay, we are just doing the collection of data. So definitely wherever there is data, we have to do the analytics. So industrial data analytics plays a major role. So in such cases, the statistical analysis is going to play a major role in transforming this raw data into a meaningful conclusion. So that is where the statistical analysis play a major role in Industry 4.0. For example, so through statistical analysis, the companies can make use of the big data which are collected into meaningful benefits. For example, they can identify the customer base, they can identify the production quantities, and based on that, they will be able to plan the production based on the seasons, and from the best marketing strategies could be identified, which could be used for developing new products. So whenever new innovations are coming into picture, we can collect some data from the customers, and we can come to a conclusion whether that can turn into a successful market or not. So in that way, it helps in developing new products. Okay, we can also establish future capital needs, and it helps in accurate decision making. So mainly it is used for predictive analysis. So that is the main advantage of this statistical analysis. And what we are going to see in today's lecture is we are going to see the basics of R. So R is a programming language which is dedicated for the statistical analysis. Actually, this statistical analysis can also be done using Python programming, but Python is a versatile, or you use it for different kinds of applications. But R is a powerful programming language which is more dedicated for the statistical analysis. So we can do the data interpretation, data visualization in a more advanced way using R programming. So that is the reason we have chosen R programming for statistical analysis. And we will be seeing some of the descriptive statistical analysis techniques implemented using R programming. And we will also see about the inferential statistical analysis, which can be done using R programming. So before, if we don't have this R programming, so we would have studied as instrumentation, we would have studied in transducer engineering subject of how to calculate this mean median of population of data. So you can see what is how much effort lies in manual calculation. If it is some hundreds of sets of data, that itself would be complex. And if it is some thousands or millions of data, in that case, the manual interpretation is very much difficult. So there the programming language plays a major role. Just with the help of a single command, we will be able to come with a conclusion of any complex data. So whether the data set consists of 10 data, or it is 100 or millions of data, so just with the help of a single command, within a second, we will be able to get the descriptive parameters, as well as we will be able to come to the inferential analysis. So not just for Industry 4.0, whether we work in the research avenues like we use soft computing techniques or we use image processing, So there all we can use the statistical analysis to justify our results. So either using parametric or non-parametric tests. So we will be able to justify whether the data or the conclusion which we have done is correct or not. Okay, so that is where the statistical analysis play a major role. So it is not just for industry 4.4 application. You can use it for any application. So we will start with the R programming. So as I told you, the classical and modern statistical techniques can be implemented using R. The most common methods are descriptive regression methods, and we can do this principal component analysis. So regression is nothing but we are going to arrive at some modeling between the dependent and independent variables. So after actually we do the descriptive statistics and other things. For predictive maintenance we need to have a modeling. Okay, for example, if you are collecting data for sugar test, okay, so how much insulin have to be injected, okay, based on the age group or based on the diet. Okay, so you can have some interpretation between the variables using some mathematical equations. So that can be done using this linear regression method. So this is again the statistical analysis that could be used. And we can go for principal component analysis. For example, we are dealing with a complex set of some 1 million or 100 million data. But dealing with such complex data is very difficult. So what we can do is we can retain only the principal components, and we can eliminate the other things so that this complex data can be easily converted into a data which could be handled easily. So that is where this principal component analysis plays a major role. Then we can use it for survival analysis, neural network, fuzzy logic, graph theory. So these are all statistical quality control. We can use it for non-linear modeling. So all these applications we use this R programming. So the main advantage of R is that it is going to present the data in a more visualized form. So that is the data visualization can be much efficient in case of this R. So R produces excellent publication quality graphs. One of the best quality of R is its plotting capabilities. And actually we have three different kinds of R graphs or the program or commands which can be used. One is the base graphics. So we will be dealing in today's lecture about the base graphics. The advanced levels are lattice and ggplot. So if I want to present it in some 3D or visualization, then we can go for this lattice or ggplot. Okay. So single dimensional, we can use it for base graphics like histograms, bar graph, line chart. So these are all some common commands available in base graphics. The same thing, if I want to present it in a more complex way, that is using 3Ds, then we can use this lattice and ggplot tools. So this is some example of R plots which we can use a basic line graph, or we can use some 3D pictures and all. So these are all the plots that are generated using R. Okay, so the main advantage of R is it can communicate with other software. So because the input is going to be data, so we want to input data from this, and also we want to export data whenever we need it, right? So both are possible using this R. It can interact with other software like Excel. So we can have all the data sets in the form of Excel stored in XLS or CSV file. So CSV is nothing but comma separated value file. So normal Excel file, more than that, this CSV will be more commonly used in case of R. So you can just save your Excel file as CSV file, and you can use it for this R importing. And also you can read some read some CSV file, or read some Excel file using the command my data read.csv file choose. These are all the things which we will be seeing. And also we can get it from SPSS file. Those who are working with statistical analysis, they generally use this SPSS mainly for social study, statistical analysis for social study application. So previously this SPSS was the only software which could be used for doing the statistical analysis. But now with this R programming, statistical analysis has become much easier. Once again. Okay. So why we use R? Because we can use it for, as I told you, we can use it for statistical computing and graphics. And it has become the most commonly used method for developing and introducing new statistical. And this was the first language which was developed in 1988. This is called as S language. And the main reason why this R has become more popular is that it is an open source software. So we can use this R as an open source software. So that is what is the main advantage. And previously it was called as a S language, and the next version it was renamed as R. So the first version it was developed in 2000, and now we have R 4.0. So that was a recent version. Okay, so why do we use R? As I told you, it's a free open source cross platform which could be downloaded easily. And it has all the advanced graphical capabilities, and it is especially powerful for data manipulation, calculation, and plots. So I think all have installed this R. So those who have not done it, I just explained the procedure. It's a simple installation where you have to just log into www.rproject.org. So you have to use this download from CRAN, and you have to select the download site and download the base package, and whatever contributed packages needed can be downloaded. Okay, as and when needed, we can download the other packages. So this is the procedure. When you log in, you can see this download CRAN. So you have to just click on it. And then you have the base package. Okay, just we have to click on that. And based on the operating system we use, we have to go for either Windows or Linux or Mac, in which we are going to download the base. So once we do that, the R will be installed. Okay. And the next step is to install RStudio. Okay. So this is an interactive environment. So R is like a command console where you can just execute your statements only with the help of the same thing. If I want to do it with a more front-end software, then we have to use this RStudio also. But one thing is that RStudio will not work without R installation. Okay, so we have to install both R as well as RStudio in order to work with RStudio. Okay, so first step is installing R, then we have to go for installing RStudio. So again, you have to just select this RStudio, and you will be having the free version. Just download it. So you'll be getting the downloaded exe file. Okay. Based on your 64-bit or 32-bit version, you can select the appropriate RStudio version, and you'll be getting a R with a circle, okay, which will be installed. I think these steps most of you have completed. I've already sent this files using mail. Okay, so now to work with R, before we go for statistical analysis using R, we need to understand some basic concepts of R, like what are all the different types of objects we have, how do we give the naming convention, assignment, functions, workspace, history, etc. Okay. Okay, so the different types of objects we have in R are vector, factor, array, matrix, data frame, and list. Okay, I think all these things you would have heard. So anyway, we'll be seeing array, matrix. These are all the things you might be knowing. And if you are already familiar with Python programming, you would have heard about the other terms also. Factor is the most important object which we generally use in R. So anyway, we'll be seeing about that. And it could be a numeric, character, complex, or logical vector, logical factors, and all. And the number of elements in the object is given by the length. Okay. And the R object is, for example, is the vector. It can hold elements of different classes. So whenever we want to create a vector with more than one element, okay, if it is just one element, vector is nothing but a collection of elements of any class. Okay, so that is what is the basic definition of vector. So whenever we want to create a vector, this is what is the syntax which we are going to use. So apple, for example, we want to create a vector called apple. Okay, and which consists of the colors red, green, yellow. So the syntax is the assignment operator. Again, we will be seeing It could be either equal to leftward assignment operator or rightward assignment operator. So we can use any of this. So apple equal to C of red, green, yellow. And if I'm going to print it and print the class of the apple, we'll be getting this. I think I have given you a file. Um, Okay, I think it's better. I'll just finish off the basics. The same thing we will just execute using R, because if we just move on from PPT to this, it will be somewhat difficult, I think. So I'll just finish off all the basics. Okay, then the basics we will implement using R. Then we will go for the statistical analysis thing. Okay, so let me just explain what it is. Okay, so vector, I think you have understood. It is just a collection of 1 second. I'm just getting a call. But ma'am, 1 second, I'll just be back.
Yeah, okay, ma'am. No issues. Participants, please download the files for this R programming session, then it will be useful for you. Already I sent the mail regarding this details, working files, how to download it and how to use that.
So the first object we have discussed is the vector. So it is going to consist of that. That is, whenever we want to create a collection of more than one element, then we use this vector. So the syntax is we are going to use C of, and whatever the collection of values we want to give, we can give it. And it need not be just a character or a logical. It could be a logical vector, it could be a character vector. We can create a vector which consists of numbers from 1 to 10. So in that case we can give C of 1 2 3 4 etc. If it's going to be character, we have to give within a single quote. So this is what is the syntax. So anyway, we will run this with an example in R. And similarly, the next object which we will be commonly using in R is list. Okay, so list it is nothing but vector is a combination of elements, and list is nothing but combination of vectors, functions, and even other lists it could be having inside it. For example, in the first list, I can have the vectors 2, 5, 3, and the second the second list is going to be consist of a numeric value 21.3, and the third one is going to have the sign function. So this is way we can create a list. So collection of just element is a vector, and collection of more number of vectors, functions, or even other list is going to be called as a list. And next is the matrix, which is the most commonly known thing. So it is a two-dimensional rectangular data set. And in R, we are going to create this matrix using matrix command, matrix of, and you can use a vector inside it. Okay, what are all the elements of the matrix? We are going to give it using a vector. So it is going to be C of A, B, C, D, A. That means the matrix is going to consist of these elements. And how this matrix has to be arranged in your thing is going to be given by two other attributes. One is row, the other one is column. So it's specified as n row equal to 2 and n column equal to 3. So that means it's going to create a 2 cross 3 matrix. Okay. And whenever I'm going to arrange it, whether I have to arrange it row wise or column wise, that is going to be defined using this by row value. So if I'm going to give by row as true, then in that case it will be arranged row wise. For example, here we want the row as 2. We have totally 6 elements, right? So column is 3. So that means the first 3 values A, B will be arranged in the row 1, and the second 3 values C, B, A will be arranged in the next row. Okay. If the same thing I'm going to give by row as false, in that case you are going to get your elements arranged column wise. Okay. So that is what is the difference. Again, the next is arrays. So we know matrix are confined only to 2 dimensions, but we can make this array to be of any number of dimensions. So it's more like a matrix. In addition to that, we can specify the dimensions also. For example, here we are going to have an array. Again, for the array, the value which we are going to give is here vector. Okay, so it's going to consist of elements green, yellow. and the dimension is 3, 3 and 2. Okay, that means it's going to create a 3 cross 3 matrix. Like that, it will be creating two matrices. Okay, that 2 indicates a dimension of the array. Okay, so if I just give 3 cross 3, I will be getting only one matrix. In addition, if I'm going to want to create two such things, then I can use it as an array. That is what is the difference. And the next is the factor. So factor is the most important object which we use in R. And here again, the factors can be created using a vector. Uh, even if the object is of some other type, okay, we will more commonly be converting into a factor type because it is most used in statistical modeling. We will see the application. For example, I have a vector, okay, C of apple color, which consists of green, green, yellow, red, 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 and green. Okay, so you can see that here green is repeated thrice, and red is repeated, and yellow is repeated. In the same way, any data we collect, we'll have the distinct elements. Okay, for example, we collect data from 1,000 people, and maybe they may be a male or female. Okay, so we have only two levels, male or female. But when we collect 1,000 set of data, we get 1,000 set of males and females, right? But we want to convert it into two levels. One is male, the other one is female. So for doing such case, this factor object is going to be used. Okay. So that is the reason why this play a major role. Then we can analyze whenever we want to analyze with respect to the gender. Okay, we can analyze with the help of this factor variable. So whenever we want to do the statistical analysis, this factor object plays a major role. For example, now this apple color vector can be converted into a factor. So factor apple is equal to factor of, the command which we are going to use is factor of this apple colors. Now if you are going to print it, you will be seeing that only the three colors alone will be listed, that is red, yellow and green. The repeated values will be neglected, and the n levels is going to list out the number of levels, which is here 3. Okay, so these things we will just demonstrate. And the next other important thing which is used in R is data frame. So data frame is the tabular data objects. Whenever we want to present it in the form of a table, then we use this data frame. So the first column can be numeric. The main difference between matrix and data frame is that in matrix, all the rows and columns will be numeric, whereas here you can have the different classes. For example, the first column may be just the age, okay, or the second column may be gender. So it is of different objects, so it's different classes. That is what is the major difference between matrix and data frame. So it's a tabular data object, and it is a list of vectors of equal length. And you can create this data frame using the command data.frame. For example, I want to create a data frame called BMI. So the command is data.frame, and whatever things which I want to include here are the columns which I want to include are gender, height, weight. Okay, so you can, and age. So you can see that you have the three values. That means 3 rows are going to be there. So that is what is given here. They should be of equal length. So all the, no, there should not be any missing values. Okay, it should be of equal length. Suppose I give 4 values, all the vectors should be of length 4. Okay, that is what is this meaning. So this is again the most important object which we'll be using in R to create a data set. And as we know, variable we use in R, and the valid variable name, it should be consisting of letter, and you can have only one underscore. So these are all the common syntax which we follow in other programming language. This is an example. I think these things you'll be knowing it better. And assignment, as I told you, you can do assignment in our language either using a normal equal to or leftward shift. This is the most commonly used assignment operator, or it could be a rightward shift operator. All three will work. Okay, we can use any of the 3 assignment operators. And whenever I want to combine strings, I can use this cat command. Okay, cat is used for combining. So this again we'll be seeing. The next is data type. So you can see what class it is. It could be a numeric class, or it could be a character, okay, or it could be an integer. So we can have different classes of objects. That is what is given by the data type. And what are all the variables which are available in the workspace? Whenever you want to find it, you can use ls function, and you can also use it can also use patterns to match the variable names. For example, we just want to list out the variables which starts with var. Okay, in that case I can use pattern equal to var. If I just give ls, then it will list all the variables. And you can also delete a particular variable from the workspace using remove function, that is rm. And you can again see the list. Okay. So next is the logical operators. So again, these things are familiar to us. We have the arithmetic, relational, logical, as we have in C and other programming. All logical, all operators can be used here. So addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So we just have to see the symbols. That's it. Okay. For modulus, we can use double percentage. Integer division, we can use percentage by percentage. And similarly, these are all the logical operators which we can use, and assignment operators and other miscellaneous operators are there. I think these are all familiar to you. And we have functions. So as we have in C, we can have functions. So the same way we have the function body and we have the calling of the function. So we can have either a user-defined function, or you can create our own function. Then we have the string. So you can have your string either within a single quote or a double quote. Okay. So even if you create them with a single quote, it will take with a double quote. So it doesn't show any syntax error. Okay. So this again is an example for vectors. What are all the different types of vectors which we can create? So anyway, we will see this when we've already seen about the vector. It can be of different classes. So again, while seeing the demo, we will see about this. Okay. So using C function, we'll be creating this. We have already seen. And the list, as I told you, you can create a list using a list command. Okay, list of whatever list you have, you can provide it. It could contain a vector or a normal element or a matrix or another list can be inside a list. And for creating a matrix, as I told you, this is a syntax which we already discussed. And this is how we create an array. And this is how we change a normal object into a factor object. So you have to just use factor of. Okay, and you can check the number of levels in a particular factor using n levels of. Okay, and then we've also seen about this data frame. So for example, we are creating a data frame emp.data, okay, with emp id and emp name, salary, start date. Okay, so these are all the columns which we are going to have. And also we are going to have the equal number of, we are going to have 5 elements. Okay, so all the things consist of 5 elements. And we are going to print it. We'll be seeing about this. And you can see the statistical nature of this particular data frame using this summary. Okay. So it will be giving you the mean, median, first quartile, and third quartile, all the values range, everything will be listed. The descriptive statistics can be found using just a single command summary. Okay. Then we will be seeing about this. And also in data frame, whenever we want to work with data, suppose we don't want to work with the entire data, we want to get a subset of data. Okay, that is again possible in R. So you can extract the first 2 rows, and in that case we can just give 1 column to the first 2 rows, and all the columns of that, if I want, I have to leave it blank. Okay. So if I do that, then I'll be getting only the first 2 rows. Similarly, I want a third and fifth row with the second and fourth column. In that case, we have to use a vector function. So I want the third and fifth row, and in that I want only the second and fourth column. Okay, in that case, I can specify it as C of 3, 5, C of 2, 4. Okay. So this is the way, and you can also add, suppose you have created a data frame, now you want to add a new column to it. Okay, we can use a simple dollar, okay, in order to extract a specified column. Okay, this again we will be using in R repeatedly. So the data frame, and then you have to put a dollar, and then you can mention the column. Okay, so to extract the or to deal with a specified column. So now we are creating a column which consists of these values, and we will be adding it. Okay, so v is equal to emp.data. In that case, this data will also get added to the basic data frame. So this way we can deal with the data frames. And one of the most other important thing which we need to know in R is a package. Again, we know what is package. It consists of some user-defined functions, and it will be stored in a library. This already we are familiar with C programming. So what we have downloaded in R is a base package, as I told you. So whenever we want to work for a specific application, many packages are available in R. So we have to just browse and see in what package our functions. For example, I want to deal with the process control application. You can just type the packages for process control in R. So we will be getting that particular package along with the various user defined functions in it. We can just go, and also they will be having the basic data set also inside. So you can use those data sets by downloading that package. You can work in R. Okay, so that is what is the major advantage. So we have various number of packages getting updated each and every day and every minute. Okay, so you can see the last updated package. So you have numerous packages available in R. So we just have to know about this thing. We can download any package at a time, and then we have to use in our program install.package. Before we do that, we have to download that particular package. In base package, the basic packages are available. Apart from that, if I want to use it for a specific application, download from CRAN using the same procedure. Just download it, and then you have to give install that package name. Okay, then to include that package, we have to use the command library of that package. So this we will be using it more commonly in R. Okay, so install that package, will be installing it, and then library will be including that. Okay, and dot library path, where the library is located, you can see using this command. And whenever you want to update the package to the recent version, we can just use update of packages. And you want to see all the packages which are installed, then we can use installed dot packages. And the next thing we want to know in R is how we can read data from the file store, which is stored outside our environment. Suppose we want to, so previously we have seen how we can create a data frame itself in R. Okay, but if I'm going to deal with some thousands, or if it is just 10 set of data, we can create our own data frame. Suppose we are collecting data and we have it available in an Excel file or as a CSV file. Okay, in that case, we will not be able to again convert it or we will not be able to again enter it in the form of a data frame. So in that case, we need to download that file or import it into R. Okay, so you can do that using import function or input.csv function. For example, so read.csv and write.csv will be using for that. If it is Excel file, then we have to just replace this as read.xls. Okay, so for that we have to import the package. Okay, so for this function we need not have any package, it is available. Suppose if it is XLS file, then we have to use a library XLS. Okay, that is what is the difference. So we have to just give read.csv, and this file should be downloaded, okay, in the working directory. To know the working directory, you can just use a command get working directory. So that file has to be stored in the working directory, then only it will be imported. Okay, so or otherwise you can set your own working directory wherever you have stored the file, that can be set as a working directory using the command set working directory. I think all are able to follow. So am I online? Can anyone confirm? I'm just speaking.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It's audible.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so this is how we can read any CSV file. Okay, and we can just find whether it's a data frame or not. Okay, is dot data frame of data. Okay, so that will be printing whether it is a data frame, and you can see the number of columns and number of rows of that particular data using this command. Okay, and here again you can get the subset of values. Okay, I don't want the entire thing, I just want this start date is greater than this. Okay, whenever you want to create some subset, then again we can do this. Okay, and one other important thing in R is the missing values. So when we collect data, not everyone will be giving, or some data will be missed. Okay, but we will not be able to process this with missing values. In that case, we have to exclude the missing values. Okay, so there are various ways by which you can check whether the data set contains missing values, and we can omit that. So using na.omit of my data, okay, or otherwise you can also check, okay, whether we have missing values, and using the n column sums and is.na function you can use, and you can find the column sums. If it is 0, then that means there is no missing value. If not, we have to go for omitting. Either we have to do some substitution of missing values with some default data, or otherwise you can omit the missing values. After that only we will be able to process the data. So before we proceed with the analysis of data, we have to first check whether our data set contains any missing values or not. Okay, in that case, it has to be either deleted, or that particular row has to be deleted, or it has to be replaced with some default values. Okay, same way how we read the value, same way we can also write whatever we have processed after statistical analysis. We want to write again into an Excel file. We want to copy it into an Excel file. We can, or a CSV file. We can use it, do it using a function write.csv, and we have to specify the name of the file in which it is stored. And this file again will be available in the same working directory. Okay. And the main advantage of R is its data visualization, and that is possible with the help of various charts available in R. So we have different forms of charts available, as we use like pie chart, bar plot, okay, box. So each has different meaning. So based on the application, we can go for selecting a particular type of chart. So whenever we want to see the distribution, we can use this pie chart. Okay. Then we can also go for the same distribution graph with the help of bar plot. And box plots you can use to show how well the data is distributed in a data set. So normally it will split the data set into 3 quartiles. Quartiles is nothing but we have the data set grouped into 4 categories, in which we have the first quartile, third quartile. These are all the quartiles which will be mentioned. To see about the distribution of data in each quartile, this will be helpful. So where it is skewed, where it is unskewed, these are all the things which we can infer from this quartile values. So for seeing that, we can use this box plot function. And you can also have an histogram which is created using hist function. We can also create a line graph. Okay, so you can connect a series of points by drawing the line segment. So we have the plot function, okay, which is used for creating a line graph. Okay, so before we move on to descriptive and inferential analysis using R, whatever we have seen so far, we will just implement using R. Those who have installed R, you can just download test.r, which I have shared with you. You can open the R Studio, and you'll be able to see this kind of window. Is my R window visible?
Yes, ma'am. It's visible, ma'am. Participants, please kindly mute your audio settings.
Sure.
Are you able to download this test.r? Those who have installed R can please confirm, so that we will be seeing it step by step. So once we understand this basics, we'll be able to see about how we can perform statistical analysis using R. Can anyone confirm whether this R file which I have sent you is downloadable in R, and you can see this kind of window? So you have installed 2 softwares, right? In which you just open R Studio. We have another R where you can see only the command line in that particular case. In the console, this console alone will be visible in your basic R software. Okay, this console alone is visible. That means you can enter the command and see the output using the command as we work in MATLAB. Okay, so whenever we just want to work with simple commands, I can open this kind. But whenever I want to store it as a file or something, this is not possible. In that case, for interactive environment, we use this RStudio. So you can see in this RStudio, we have this four things divided. So one for working with our file, and the second window is the command console where you see the outputs, and this is the window. Okay, so here you can see the history, connections, and environment. This is called as the environment window, and you can download files and you can download your plots. You can see your plots, export. All those things can be done in the fourth window. Okay, so you can see this packages. So here you can see various packages are available. So you can just install any package from this. Okay, and you can include using the library function whenever we want. Okay, so far is it clear? Shall I proceed? Any doubts in the installation process?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So you are able to open this test.r. Anyone? Because you will not be able to type and see. It will take time. That is the reason why I have sent this basic file, so that you can understand the commands. Anyone has opened? Shall I proceed? So opening is just go to open this RStudio, go to file, open file, and wherever you have stored your R file, you just take it. That's it. Is it done?
Okay, ma'am.
So whatever we have so far seen in the PPT, the same thing we will just execute in R so as to understand it better. Okay, so let me start with the first one. Whenever I want to assign a string, okay, as I told you, you can either do it within a single quote or a double quote. So assignment operator, either I can use normal equal to, or it could be a left word or right word. So my string is hello world. So you can see here, okay, so my string is hello world. We are just assigning. We are not able to see the value. In order to see that value, either you can give print of my string, or if you just type my string alone, again it will be printed. Okay, so either you can give print of my string, or you can just give my string. So because we are going to see the step-by-step execution, I'm just running it command by command. Okay. Shall I proceed? So you can see in the console window now, the hello world is getting displayed. Okay. So the first thing we have started here is how we can create a vector. So as we have seen in the example, we just want to create a vector called apple, which consists of elements red, green, and yellow. Okay, so the syntax is apple. Either you can use, as I told you, the left shift operator is most commonly used. So left shift operator, and the syntax is C of, in bracket, you have to specify the values because they are string values. We are specifying within a single quote. Okay, so whenever I do this, a vector is created, but it is not listed. We are not able to see it. So to list out it, either I can just give apple alone or print of apple. Both are same. So you can see now this vector has been created with values red, green, and yellow. Clear? And I want to know about this class of this apple. Okay, so whenever I want to give comment in R, it can be preceded by a hash symbol. Okay. So next is print of class apple. Here you can see that they belong to the class character. And suppose I want to create a numeric vector. In that case, I just give R is equal to C of 1, 2, 3 and print you can see that it is a numeric vector. So this way you can create a vector which could be either a numeric, or if it is just true, false, in that case it could be a logical vector. So you can have a vector to be of numeric character or it could be a logical integer. Okay, any kind of vector can be created. So based on the values, it will be taking the class. Okay, we need not specify, like in C, we need not specify what class it is. In Python and R, it implicitly detects what type of class it is. Okay. So far, any doubt? Are you all able to do it in parallel? Those who install, able to get the result in the console? Can anyone confirm? Are you able to see my R window? Anyone? Is it in chat? I'm not able to see the chat. Okay, you want me to paste the code in the chat window? For that only, I have given you the R file directly. Will that be okay, or you want me to paste it? If it is that case, I will do that. Preeti ma'am, did you get that? Okay, you want it to be pasted. Fine, I'll do it. So you can just create a numeric vector using the command. Okay, R is equal to C of 1, 2, 3. So you can just print it, and you can see that it is of numeric type. So this is about creation of a vector. I think everyone is clear with what is vector. And how to create a vector, right? Okay. Next is creating a list. Okay, so list we have seen it can be created using the command list. Okay. Inside a list, I can have another list, or it could be a list of single element, or a sign function, etc. Okay, so I'm just copying this. So this is the syntax to create a list. And you can just list it down using the command. It need not be print off every time. You can just also use just a list one. Okay, even if you just type the variable name, it will be done. Once again, I just stop my video. Yes, are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So this is the way I can create my list. Okay. So you can see I will not run this command. Okay. So create a list, and then I can print it using my list one. You just type list one. Okay. Then your list will be printed. So you can see here the first list consists of a list, the second list consists of a numeric value, and the third list consists of a function. Clear? So whenever we want to create a combination of vectors, okay, or vectors and other elements, then a list can be used. Then the next one is creating a matrix. So the command of creating a matrix is just enter the command. You can see it. So you have to just use a matrix command. And as I told you, inside the matrix, you have to specify the vector. Okay. So the vector here is AA, BC, and BA. And the vector consists of 2 rows. We have to specify what matrix we want. Okay. The number of rows and the number of columns and the by row value. This by row value is going to indicate whether you want to arrange your matrix either row wise or column wise. Okay. So I have created a matrix. So now you can just type M. You can see the matrix which is getting printed. So you can see here, because we have given by row as true, you can see it is arranged row wise. Okay. So since there are 3 columns, the first row is arranged with 3 columns and then the second row is arranged. The same by row value, you can just make it as false and you can verify how the matrix is arranged. So you can see here now it is arranged column wise. So the first column AA, then the second column BC, and then the third column BA. So this is the difference in the by row value. Okay. The next is the creation of an array. Okay. So you can create an array using the array command. The difference between matrix and array is that you can specify the dimension here. Okay. So previously we got only one dimensional using matrix. Okay. Just it could be a 3x3 matrix alone. Now, if I want to create 2 such matrices, okay, then I can use this array. So the array of the first one will be the first 3x3 matrix. The second one will be the second 3x3 matrix. So when you run this command, okay, and you are going to print it, and you can see here the result. You see the first one. This is the array 1. This consists of a 3x3 matrix with the values arranged with, you just specify green, yellow, but it itself will take, okay, based on the dimensions given, it will arrange green, yellow, green, okay, like that. Similarly, the next one will start with yellow and then yellow, green, and that. Okay, so render, we have the 2 values. With the 2 values, we start with the first value and arrange it in a 3x3 matrix. Second one, start with the second value and then arrange as a 3x3 matrix. So in this way, we can create 2-dimensional matrix. Okay, so that is what is the concept of array. So far, is it clear? Shall I proceed? Can anyone confirm? Am I going it fast? Or slow? So please confirm in the chat so that I'll be able to adjust it accordingly. Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, ma'am, you can save the program as usual, as we do it using file. You can save, and in any location, whatever location you can want, you can select and save, ma'am. You have this file, right? So go to file and then save it, ma'am. Okay, so the next one is factor, which is the most important one. So for which I just create a vector which consists of elements like green, green, yellow, red, red, etc. And if I list out this apple color, okay, I didn't execute this. Okay. First I create a vector and then I'm just seeing the colors of it. Okay. Now I want to make it as a factor. Okay, so what I'm going to use is the factor command. So factor apple equal to factor of apple colors. So when I do this, so I'll paste it. Okay, the command is just factor of. Okay, so whatever object you want to convert it into factor, you just give a new value for that and then give a command factor of. Now if you print it, you see that you have only the 3 levels, okay, green, red and yellow. Okay, so it has been converted into factor with 3 levels. And whenever we want to see the number of levels, you can just give n levels. Okay, so this would be very useful, okay, in the statistical analysis. So even though by default it is an integer value, character value, or any object it is, you can make it as a factor, okay, which could be used for easy comparison and easy interpretation. So most commonly we will be doing this. For example, we have the age. Okay, so age values will be having like 25, 30, etc. We want to categorize it. So whenever we want to do the categorization, okay, we will be we can do that only by factorizing it, okay, or making it as a factor. So most places will be using this factor variable. Then the next is the data frame. This is the creation of a tabular value, right? So here again, the command is data.frame. So we can give a variable name or BMI, data frame name, okay, data.frame, in which you can list out what are all the columns we have. So we have the gender, height, weight, and age specified. So all are of equal length. It is of length 3, you can see here, okay. So when I execute this, data frame has been created, but if I want to see it, I have to just give BMI or print of BMI. So you can just give print of BMI or BMI. You can see that tabular values getting created, 3 rows and 4 columns. We have the gender, height, weight, and age, and we have the 3 rows. Okay. Then the next is assignment. As I told you, equal to left side and right side, everything has the same meaning. So you can use any operator for assignment. So it is right. Similarly, the same assignment can also be done using leftward operator. Or it could be done using rightward operator. Okay. So it's just to understand that any syntax can be used. And you can also do the rightward by replacing, by swapping the values. So where 3 is C of 2, 1. Okay. Now, whenever I want to combine the strings, I can use the function cat. Okay. So you can see that here the combination, that is var1 is the var.1 value is printed. Okay, and when I want to do it as a next line, then I have to give /n as usual in C. Similarly, var.2 is learn R. So this way you can combine the string using this cat. Okay, and whenever you want to print a particular data type of a variable, okay, then you can use the function class. The class will be giving you what data type it is. So have to just give hello. We know it is a character. Okay, whenever we want to print that, okay, so we can just use it. Do it using class of varx. So it just prints that it is the character type. And similarly, the next is the number. So it is a numeric vector. These are all the simple things. And whenever we have the L with the suffix, it indicates that it is a integer. Okay. Then ls, as I told you, it is going to list out all the variables in the workspace. So whenever we want to see all the variables, these are all the variables we have so far used in the workspace. So all those variables will be listed or can be seen using this ls. And out of these variables, I just want to list only the variables which starts with var. Okay, in that case, I can use the pattern. So print of ls of pattern equal to var will be printing only the variables which starts with var. Okay. And out of which, if I want to delete some particular variable, I can use rm. So if I print now, it will show error because that variable has been deleted. Okay. And I want to delete all the variables in the workspace, then I can give remove list equal to ls of. So all variables will be deleted. Now if I print, you can see that there is no variable in the workspace. So whenever we want to delete the variables in the workspace, you can use this rm function. So far, is it clear? So we have just seen how to create a vector, a matrix, an array, data frame, and how to convert into a factor. And we have seen about the variable assignment and how to list out the variables in the workspace. So is it clear so far? Shall I proceed?
Yes, ma'am. We didn't receive any queries, ma'am. So we can
Okay.
proceed.
Thank you. Okay. So next one, we can either have a vector to be a single element vector or it could be a double vector. I think these are all the basic things, so which we know. And if it is true, false, then it is going to be a logical, okay, logical vector. So these are all the different classes of vector. We can also have a complex vector. We can also have a raw value, like we want to find the binary version of this. For hello, it will be decoded. If I give character to raw, then the binary values will be x values will be printed. Okay. Then whenever I want to create a sequence, okay, I can use it with 5:13. So from 5 to 13, a vector has been created. So if I want to print this, you can see that a sequence from 5 to 13 will be created. And suppose I want to create a sequence, okay, with 6.6 to 12.6, the same is again possible. And if the final element specified doesn't belong to the group, it will be discarded. Okay, so from 3.8 to 11.4, so till 10.8 it will be printed, and 11.4 doesn't come under the sequence. And we want to do it with an incremental value. Okay, I just don't want the normal increment by 1, but we want it to increment by 0.4 value. So in that case, you can do that using by function, by attribute. So you can see here it is created with 0.2 increment. Okay, I think this vectors we have already understood how to create a vector. So you can see that this vector consists of apple, red, 5 and true. Okay, all here you can see actually it consists of classes like character as well as numeric and logical, right? But when I create a vector, it will be taking the precedence. Character is having the most precedence. So when I print it, okay, you can see that everything has been converted into a character vector. Okay, so this happens by default. So even though you mix up with some values, you give one as numeric, one as character, and one as logical. You see when this vector is created, it is created with the most precedent class, that is character. Okay, so that again we have to understand here. So similarly, you can access the vector elements using position. Okay, so in that particular vector, the position value starts with 1. So you can see here, whenever I do this, just copy this. Okay, so whenever I give T of C of 236, that means the second one, third one, Monday, Tuesday, and Saturday will be printed. Sorry, Friday will be printed. Okay. Similarly, you can also do using logical indexing. So if I give true, false, 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 true, whichever having true, that particular position values alone will be saved. For example, here Sunday and Friday. Okay, so only these two will be
थर्ड लिखिए,
Printed.
GSM is a circuit switch system. GSM is a circuit switch system.
Doubts? Also, you can use negative indexing. If I put it as minus, then that particular value will be deleted. Okay, the remaining values will be printed. Okay, this way also you can access. Or you can also go for accessing using 0, 1 values. Whichever value having 1 will be extracted, the other will be deleted. Okay, so whenever you want to access any vector, okay, you want to extract it by position, or you can extract it using true false, okay, logical indexing 0, 1, okay, or it can be either a positive indexing or negative. Negative means it will be removing that, okay, positive means it will be extracting that. And this list creation also we have seen, it could be either a red green normal value, or it could be a vector, or it could be a logical thing. I think this we have already seen an example. So you can have this list data. You can give names of names to the elements in the list. Okay, so you can just give names of list data equal to the first list will be having the name as first quarter, the second one will be the A matrix here, and the third is the A inner list. So this way I'll be able to specify the name. Okay, and the matrix again we have I think we have seen in the beginning. So we can create a matrix. 3 to 14 are the elements, and I have given only the n row. N column has not been specified. So by default, it will be taking the column number of columns. Okay. So because we have arranged it as by row true, okay, it will be arranging it in row wise. Okay. And because we have the 12 values, okay, because we have the value of row as 4, default column size is taken as 3. And the same thing if I give by row as false, you can see they'll be arranged column wise. And here again, as you give names for your array, here again you can specify the names for your row and column using row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. So whatever column names and row names you want to specify, you can specify it. Now if I print it, so you can see that the matrix is now getting printed along with the row names and the column names. And since these are all the things we've already seen, I'm not pasted in the chat. Vector creation. We are creating here 2 vectors, and then we are creating an array with these 2 vectors, and dimension as 3, and 2. So these 2 vectors will be taken as a 3 cross 3 matrix with the 2 number of 3 cross 3 matrix. Okay, so that is how this array will be created. Is that clear? And we have already seen about this factor. So here we are first creating a vector, and we are checking whether it is a factor. You can check whether it is a factor or not using is.factor function. Okay. So if it's not a factor, suppose we want to convert it into a factor, we just use factor command. Okay, factor data equal to factor of data. And now we can see that it has the 3 levels, east, north, and west. Okay, now if I check, then it is true. So that is how we have converted a non-factor object into a factor object. And data frame, I think this again we have seen with the BMI data frame, I think. Okay, so we are creating a data frame, emp data with ID, name, salary, and start date. And you can see the structure of this data. So this str, you can see about the classes of each value inside the data frame. So emp ID is an integer, an emp name is a character, salary is of numeric. Because we are not assigning it itself, it takes by default. So we need to check it, and whenever we want to convert it, we can convert it. Okay, and this summary function, as I told you, it will be giving you the descriptive statistics. So you can see here the summary function. So for each one, it is giving for character, it will not be giving the median and all. Only for numeric values, it will be giving the minimum value, maximum value, first quarter, third quarter, median, mean. These are all the basic descriptive parameters which we can get from the summary function. Okay, descriptive. This is the basic descriptive statistical analysis. So for date function, again, it will be giving. For character alone, it won't be finding any mean, median, and all. Okay, for numeric, it will be doing. And as I told you, we can extract the subset of the data frame. So I just want, whenever we want to extract, I can use the dollar. Okay, so the data frame name, $emp name will be extracting. So once again, I'll paste it. So the data frame can be extracted. So you can see here now only the name and the salary details are extracted. Okay. And in which I want to extract only the first two rows. So because these are all the things which are needed for statistical analysis. In many cases, we will not be always dealing with the entire set of the data. Okay, we want to deal with the subset of data. So in which case we should know how to extract a particular data set. Okay, so either we want that specified columns, okay, or we want the specified rows or specified rows with specified columns. So these are all the different cases which we need to extract. So you can see here only the first row is getting displayed. And similarly, so when I do this, the third, fifth row, in that second, fourth column will be displayed. So you can see the third and fifth row, for which only the second and fourth column getting displayed. So this is the way. Also, I can add a column to the particular data frame. So using this dollar function. So whenever I want, I can add it. Okay. So now if you see V, you see that a new column with department has been added. Okay, this again we will be normally using, because with the original data, whatever data we are finding out, we just want to add it. I think the basics we will stop with this. One more thing is the, okay, one second. These are all the things because we have to deal with the statistical analysis also. Okay, these are all the things anyway we'll be doing with the statistical analysis. As I told you, we can have different forms of graphs. Okay. Okay, sorry. So either you can create a chart which can be displayed here, or by default you want to store it in particular location. Okay, both are possible here. For example, I just have to give the file name, and I want to create, for that I have to run this slide. So between X and labels, before you do that, so please run this. So I just create a data for the graph, X-axis and Y-axis, okay? And I'm naming it. If I give this command dev.off, okay, in that case it will be saved as a file. The same command, if I comment it, and now if I run this py, you can see the pie graph is getting displayed in this window. Okay, so it depends on our application whether we want it, and here from this you can export it. Okay, you can zoom it, save as image, save as PDF. So either you can display it here and then save, or you can save in your own file itself. Okay, I think this is clear. Then similarly we can have the bar plot. So I didn't run the previous command h. Once again. So I just have to run this command, and now for this I'm just plotting the bar plot once again. So similarly, we can have the box plot, and also we can have the histogram. Okay, so these are all the different kinds of graphs that can be created. I think with this we stop with basic thing. Then we will go for the statistical analysis. So far, is it clear? So here we have just understood how we can have different kinds of objects getting created in R. Okay, how to create a data frame, vector, other things, and we have also seen how we can create different charts and how to include packages. So far, any doubts? Shall I proceed? Am I online?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So now we will again move on to our presentation. So now we start with the statistical analysis. As we have seen, we have the statistical analysis classified into two categories. One is descriptive, the inferential. So descriptive is just used to describe the basic features of the data, whereas in inferential, we are going to reach some conclusions, okay, extend beyond the data, okay, what the population might think. We are collecting sample data from a set of population, and about that we are going to come to an inference. Okay, for example, in industries we are collecting a set of data, so from which we can do the statistical analysis to find whether any fault has occurred, or we can use that particular set of current data to do some predictive analysis. Okay, so these are all the places where we use this. So descriptive analysis, as we have seen, it is again classified into univariate and multivariate. In univariate analysis, we are going to examine only one variable at a time. So here the most important parameters are distribution, central tendency, and dispersion. So distribution is how the frequency of individual values or ranges of values are getting distributed. The central tendency is the center of distribution of values, which we generally analyze with the help of parameters like mean, median, and mode. And dispersion refers to the spread of the values, okay, around the central tendency, how the values are spread. Okay, so that is actually calculated using the range and the standard deviation. So these are all the terminologies which we've already familiar with. And measures of central tendency, we have the parameters as the arithmetic mean or a simple mean, which is nothing but the average of all the values. Then we have the median. The median is the one which is going to divide into two equal parts. Okay, and the mode is the one which is going to occur most frequently in a set of observation. And geometric mean is nothing but the nth root of product of observation. And whenever we want to find the geometric mean, these are all the functions which can be used in R. Mean of x, which will give you the mean value. Median of x will give you the median value. Mode. And similarly, if I want to find the geometric mean, I have to include a package called psych. It is not available in the base package. So we have to include a psych package, and then we can find the geometric mean using the command geometric.mean of x. Similarly, whenever we want to find the harmonic mean, it is nothing but the reciprocal of the arithmetic mean of the reciprocals of the given values. And again, to find the harmonic mean, we have to use library of psych, and then you can give the command harmonic.mean of x. And range is nothing but, as we all know, it is the highest minus lowest value in a series. Also, we can find the mean deviation using the command mean AD of x. So here now we have to just know what are all the commands that could be used, okay, based on the application, based on the statistical parameter to be estimated. So to find the mean deviation, mean area of X, it is available in this DESC tools package. So we have to include that package and we can use this command. And standard deviation is available in the base package. We need not export any package for this. So it is, as we know, it is the square root of average of squares of deviations, and it is going to give us a measure of how the numbers are spread out. So SD of X, an average of square difference from mean is nothing but variance, which we can find using VAR of X. Okay. And the other important parameter which we have to know here is the skewness. So skewness is nothing but a measure of asymmetry of the probability distribution, okay, about the mean value. So how the distribution is done or not, okay, that is what is actually found by skewness. So the value of skewness is lesser than -1, or if it is greater than +1, then we say that the distribution is highly skewed. And if it is between -1 to -0.5 and +0.5 to 1, we see that the distribution is moderately skewed. And if the skewness is between -0.5 and +0.5, then the distribution is approximately symmetric. So that is what we call as the normal distribution. Okay, whenever the skewness value lies between, for finding whether the distribution is normal or not, we can estimate that by skewness value. So if the value of skewness is between -0.5 to +0.5, the distribution is approximately symmetric. And normally the skewness is a measure of symmetry, and the negative skewness means the mean value is lesser than the median. That means it is left skewed. Okay, and positive skewness means the mean of the data value is larger than the median, so the distribution is right skewed. So you can see the graph by which we can understand. So if the mean, median, mode, everything is same, then we say that it is normally distributed. The skewness is between -0.5 to +0.5. And here you can see the positive skewed, where mean is less than the median, and here you can see the negatively skewed graph. And the next parameter which we use here is kurtosis. It is a measure of peakness of the probability distribution. So a highly peak value is called as leptokurtic, and if it is normal peak, it is mesokurtic. And if it is very less value, that is undershoot generally we say, then it is called as platykurtic value. Okay. And descriptive statistics, we use functions like, as we have already seen, the summary function. It provides the minimum, maximum, quartiles, and the mean. Okay. And we also have another function called describe, but it is available in HMISC package. Okay. So that will be returning the number of variables, observations, number of missing values, in addition to the mean, quartile, and the 5 highest and lowest values. Okay. So both are used for finding the statistical parameters. What parameters are listed out differs between summary and describe. And also we should see that HMIC package has to be installed and included for using the describe function. And we also have one more function called descriptive statistics. So as we do, we just need to know the command. We have to just paste this command in our R to get after including that after importing that particular file. So we can find using the functions just within a second about the various values for any complex data. So that is what is the powerful of R. So stat.desc, okay, this PASTEX package which has this function, it also provides a wide range of descriptive statistics. So here you can see, if here you can find the mean, median, standard error. In addition, you can also find the confidence interval. Okay, so we have studied about this confidence interval. Also, you can find the skewness value, kurtosis value, and we also have one more function called Shapiro test. You can use the p-value option as the confidence interval. So for inferential statistics, this p-value will be used. Normally, if we say hypothesis as two hypotheses, one is null hypothesis, alternative hypothesis. For example, we just make an assertion statement. Okay, if the value which we find is equal to average value, this is what is the hypothesis I make. And for this hypothesis, I use some test. Okay, I'll be finding out the value. It will be listing some value called P. Okay, so this P value, or otherwise, we have studied about this confidence interval. how confident that this result is true. That is mentioned by the confidence interval, or the opposite of that. Okay, how it could be accepted or rejected is mentioned by this p-value. The assertion made whether it is going to be accepted or rejected is going to be calculated using this p-value. Okay, so I'll just tell you how from this p-value we are going to make this assertion, uh, which we'll be discussing. And we also have the describe by function, summary, describe, DESC, start. Apart from that, we also have one more function called describe by, which is available in psych package. This again lists out the various descriptive statistical measures like mean, median, deviation, median, absolute. In addition to the previous one, it has additional parameters like skew, range, kurtosis, standard error. All those functions can be listed out. Okay. So from the skew value, kurtosis value, we will be able to come to a conclusion whether the distribution is normal distributed or not, from which we'll be able to identify whether we can use the parametric or non-parametric test for further inferential analysis. And whenever we want to obtain the descriptive statistics by group, then we can also use aggregate function, and the same can be done by describe dot by function. Okay, different packages have different functions available. They have some one or two parameters in addition or deletion. That is what is the difference. So the most commonly used functions for descriptive statistics is either summary function or describe dot by function. Okay, so any of the two functions can be used to find the mean, median, mode, standard deviation, skewness, kurtosis, and maximum, minimum, range, etc. So these are all the descriptive statistical parameters which we want to estimate for a particular data. Next comes the inferential statistics, and this we use it to infer from the sample data what the population think. This is where we can find some interpretations or conclusions, and we can do data visualization. So these are all the advantages of this inferential statistics. So what is going on in our data can just be described by the descriptive statistics. Now we want to compare, for example, the average performance between two groups. Okay, I can use my inferential statistic method called t-test, which is a parametric test. I can find the difference between the two groups. Normally how we do that is we make a hypothesis that there is no significant difference, and we run this t-test, and then we will be estimating the p-value. From the p-value, we will be coming to a conclusion of either accepting the hypothesis or rejecting the hypothesis, from which we'll be able to find whether the groups are significant or they are different. So this way, we will be able to make a conclusion with the help of this inferential statistic. Okay, there are various inferential as we have the statistical tests. We have inferential statistics. We have t-test, ANOVA called analysis of variance, ANCOVA called analysis of covariance, and we use regression analysis, factor analysis, cluster analysis, etc. So these are all the different kinds of tests that could be used here. So as I told you, testing of hypothesis is an important step of inferential statistic. Here we are going to just find or promise or claim that we want to test is called as a hypothesis, which we are going to assert. Okay, and so assertion about a population or the probability distribution where we want to verify. Okay, on the basis of what we want to verify from the sample, that is what is called as a hypothesis. And while testing it, we are going to come to either two action. Either we are going to accept the hypothesis or reject the hypothesis. Okay. So testing of hypothesis is by two ways: null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. Normally we go with the null, and in testing using R, it will be giving you the both answers, null hypothesis. So whichever is true will be specified, which we will be running and seeing. And here we are going to use a level of significance called p-value as the measure of finding the significance. So we are going to find the significance of data using this p-value. Previously, the z value is used, and sometimes f value is used. You can see in the papers. But the most commonly used value now is the p-value. So we will see what is this p-value and how we are going to accept or reject our data using this p-value. So it's very simple. When we run any test, we will be getting this p-value, and we are going to check the value of this p. So if it is lesser than 0.01, we will be making some hypothesis, right? So that hypothesis is rejected at 1% level of significance if the value is less than 0.01. And if the same value is less than 0.05, we are going to reject at 5% level of significance. It is completely significant, that is more significance. That is what is the meaning. Okay. And if the p-value is greater than 0.05, we are going to accept the hypothesis. That means there is no significant difference between the groups we are testing. That is what is the interpretation we do with the help of this p-value. So if p-value is greater than if we go in deep with the mathematics beyond this, then it will take more time. So I just want you to know about this. You can just surf about the mathematical details of this. Okay. I just want here to make yourself understand how with this p-value we will be able to do interpretations or predictions using this statistical analysis. Okay. So the three things which we have to know here is, as I told you, in testing, we are going to either accept or reject. If it is going to be, if the p-value which we are going to get using any test is greater than 0.05, we are going to accept at 5%. This is very important. We have to write the statement. Okay. And if it is lesser, then we are going to reject it. Okay. At 5% level of significance. And if it is less than 0.01, it is rejected at 1% level of significance. Now we are going to have the two types of test in inferential. One is parametric, the other one is the non-parametric. As I told you, the main difference here is based on the sample. So if the samples are taken from the normal population, if the data is normally distributed, which we can find using the skewness and other parameter Shapiro test, we'll be able to find out whether the data is normally distributed or not. Okay, if it is normally distributed, then we are going to use parametric test, and if it is not normally distributed, then we are going to use the non-parametric test. Okay. So to find the normality, we can, as I told you, we can either go for histogram. From the histogram plot, we'll be able to see whether the values are distributed around the central point. And again, we can find whether the skewness, it should be 0 and kurtosis should be 3. Okay, if it should be normally distributed, which you can find using the describe by function. And also you can find using the QQ norm plot, from which you'll be able to find whether the data is distributed normally or not. You can also use Shapiro.test. Okay, this is the command. And this will be, this assumes that the distribution is normal. And when I do that, it will be getting the p-value. If the p-value is greater than 0.05, the test is accepted. That means the distribution is normal. And from this Shapiro test, if p-value is lesser than 0.05, then it is rejected. It is not normally distributed, or it is rejected at 5%. And if it is still lesser than 0.01, it is rejected at 1% level of significance. Clear? So this is how we come to a conclusion that the data is distributed normally or not. And then we will be able to apply the parametric or non-parametric test. So one of the parametric, most commonly used parametric test is student t-test or t-test. So the function which we are going to use here is t.test. Okay. So you can perform a single mean difference between mean or paired t-test on vectors of data. So this is the syntax which we use. Then we have the non-parametric test. So you can use it for any kind of data. Okay, so that is what is the advantage of non-parametric test, because we cannot say that the data is always normally distributed. So most of the cases the data will not be normally distributed. So in that case, I can go for this non-parametric test. So the most similar test of t-test is Wilcoxon test and non-parametric. So this is the syntax for Wilcoxon text. Wilcox.test. So anyway, we'll be seeing with the demo. So I just want to explain the different kinds of tests which are available. So here the first classification is parametric. As I told you, the t-test is the most commonly used one. And in t-test, we have for a single mean, for difference of t-mean, two means, which is called as an independent sample t-test. And you can have a paired t-test. And similarly, we have one more test which is commonly used, that is ANOVA, analysis of variance. Again, we have here one-way ANOVA and two-way ANOVA. And to find the relationship between two variables, I can use this Pearson correlation coefficient. And whichever test is applied, it depends on how many variables are involved in it. Okay. So if I'm going to have only one variable involved and it is of type a scale variable, okay, in that case I can use for this t-test. Okay, scale variable is a normal variable. Okay, and if it is going to be between two groups, okay, and if all both the groups are nominal variable, nominal is ordinal variable, ordinal or factor. Okay, that is what is the difference. So if it is going to be a nominal variable, then we go for t-test for difference of two means. And if I'm going to have a comparison between two with equal weightage, then we go for a paired t-test. Okay, and we used one way ANOVA, which involves two variables. Okay, for more than two groups. And similarly, two-way ANOVA is used if it involves three number of variables. Okay, and if I'm just going to find the correlation between two things, then we are going to use this Pearson correlation coefficient. The same kind of test is available in the non-parametric, that is Wilcoxon test, Mann-Whitney U test, Kruskal test. Wilcoxon is more similar to a t-test, and Kruskal is more similar to ANOVA. And we have the Friedman test. Then we have Pearson. It is similar to Spearman's correlation in case of non-parametric. Then the most commonly used again test is chi-square test. So I'll just explain. Padma ma'am, how much more time is left?
Ma'am, some 5 more minutes. Ma'am.
5 more minutes. Right. I think we will not be having time for doing the demo. For these tests, I'll just explain with an example. Okay. How these tests can be used for a sample data. For example, I have shared with you a questionnaire for role description and a role.csv Excel file. So let me just explain that. So this is data which is collected, okay, for finding the role description of employees related to work, okay, and role clarity, performance related growth opportunities, like that. They have collected some information. Okay, and that is what is available in your role.csv file. So this is the role.csv file. So here you can see the gender, age, education, experience data is collected, and the question number is given. Okay, the first 5 questions related to the role related, performance related, etc. So totally we have the 20 questions. So this is what is the Excel file which has been shared, and here you can see. So what are all the conclusions which we can come? So it's just, if it is just available as a data, it is non-meaningful. Now, what are all the conclusions I can do here with the help of my descriptive and inferential analysis is that. So first one, I can form the frequency, percentage of gender, age, education, and experience of employees, right? So I just want to find how many male and female are there, and in age group, okay, in different age group, how many persons are there. So here you can see the age group is below 25, 25 to 35, above 35. And again, I want to classify as professional, non-professional. Then below 5, 5 to 15, and above 15. So these are all the ways by which I can classify. And I can find the statistical parameters like mean and standard deviation. And inferential analysis which I can make here is, for example, I want to find whether the opinion reached the career goal. So you can see here, reach the career goal is nothing but it is the second question, question number 2. Okay, so whether this career goal reaching is above average level for all employees, that is what I want to first find. So this I can test using my t-test. Okay, because I have only a single parameter or single thing. Okay, I just want to find whether it is above or equal average value. Okay, I just make it as above average value. Okay, and what I can do here is I can make an hypothesis that it is equal to mean, and I will be finding out the p-value for this. Okay, if it is greater than 0.05, okay, then the test has to be accepted. If it is lesser, then it has to be rejected. So this way I can find, similarly, if I want to find a significant difference between gender with regard to factors of role description, here we have the two variables involved. So we have to find the t-test for difference of two means. So this is what I just want to make it clear. Similarly, when I want to find the relationship between the factors of role description, then I have to go for Karl-Pearson correlation coefficient. Okay, so this way we have to go for using different kinds of tests. And in R, I'll just run this very fast. Ma'am, can I take 5 more minutes?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So I'll just explain you how you can select your file from an external thing. So I have given you the role.csv, right? You please store it in the same working directory of your R. Then if you run this, it will be asking for you about the file. So you just have to go select your file. So this is the way you can import your file in R. Okay, and this head roll will give you the first 6 rows. Okay, you can see in that it consists of many rows and columns. So just for a sample, I want to list out the first 6 rows, then I can use the function head. Similarly, the last 6 values can be listed using your tail. Okay, and you can find the dimension of your whole thing using 150 cross 30. So 150 rows are there, okay, and 30 columns are there. And to find whether there is any missing value, you can use is.na function. So you can see all are 0, all the column sum is 0, that means there is no missing value. Okay, and in which I just want to take only the first 25 columns, all rows, but I want to consider only the first 25 columns. I just subset it. Okay, so now you can see it contains only the first 25. That is the first 5 will be the, you can see in this thing till y is there. That means 25 only is there, right? 25 columns are there. So I'm just extracting that. Okay, and I'm just converting now. So when I see the dimension structure of the role, I find that all my things are integer because they're all of the values numbers. But now here I want to categorize my gender, age, education, experience, right? So those case I want to convert these values into factors. So that I'm doing using my factor command. So I'm just categorizing as gender as only male, female. Similarly, age, I just listed into 2 because below 25, 25 to 40, above 40. So whatever ways we want to classify, how many levels you want to convert, you can convert it. Similarly, education and experience. Okay. And then I'm seeing the structure of my role again. Now you can see that these things have been converted now into factors. Now, while doing this, I can now find the number of male and number of female easily using the command table of role $gender. Okay, so it just lists out how many male and how many female there. Okay, and similarly, you can convert it into a percentage using prop.table. Age group, again, I just find how many below 25, how many 25 to 35, how many above 35. So these things are possible using this factor command. Okay, so after finding this, I just want to get my bar plot. So plot, okay. So I'll just you can generate a bar plot or pie plot. Okay. So you can see here. Now I'm just taking the subset from 6 to 25 because the first 5 are age, gender, and other things for which we don't want to do any statistical analysis. So you can see here from the Excel sheet, you can see the questioning start from here, from the 5th one. First 5 will be till experience. Only from the 6th column it starts off with the questions for which we want to do the statistical analysis, right? So that is the reason why I'm considering only 6 to 25. And using describe, I can find all my statistical parameters which I told you. So if I give MD role, so you can see here this Q Curtis is, okay, for each question you can see all the values like mean, standard deviation, median. Okay, everything will be getting listed. So in image processing applications, in soft computing, all those things, you can use these values to find the mean, median, and all in a very simple way. And you can just import it or export it into a CSV file. Okay. Shall I stop here, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Time ஆயிடுச்சுன்னு நினைக்கிறேன், but I couldn't take.
Yes, ma'am. Because one more session at 2 o'clock, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. That's
Okay,
it. Yeah.
I have stopped with the descriptive statistics. So you can just surf with inferential statistics, okay, with the theory which I have told you. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am, for the wonderful opportunity. Thank you, participants, for patient listening. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, now I would like to call
Thank you,
Dr.
ma'am.
N. Winnie Anthony Grace, Associate Professor from E&I, to propose the vote of thanks. Participants, please be stay here. Within a few seconds, I will post the feedback link here. Please be wait. Ma'am, Winnie, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
On behalf of our management, principal, HOD, and faculty members assembled here, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our session speaker, Dr. C. Gomati ma'am, Associate Professor, Department of Electronics and Instrumentation Engineering, Sri Sairam Engineering College, for giving a deep insight about the statistical analysis of R and R Studio, and parallelly enlightening us with hands-on session on R Studio. Hope participants would have benefited by this hands-on experience today. Thank you once again, ma'am.
I thank all the participants.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, Komati ma'am, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thanks, Padma ma'am, for the great
Thanks,
opportunity.
ma'am. Yeah, sure, ma'am. It's very highly informative session, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Please